There are places on this planet that seem designed to test the limits of both man and machine. Lands where the white of the snow hides deadly traps, where the cold cuts like a blade, and silence is broken only by the metallic roar of engines defying the impossible. If you've ever been impressed by a Jeep climbing a trail, get ready. Today we're crossing the Arctic and even brushing the edges of Antarctica aboard true ice titans. Have you ever wondered what kind of vehicle is capable of crossing kilometers of soft snow, forging paths over frozen lakes, and surviving where even helicopters fear to land? Some of these machines were created out of necessity. Others, out of pure human obsession to conquer the unconquerable. But they all share one thing in common. They're so rare, so extreme, and so unbelievable that chances are you've never heard of most of them. Ready to discover the largest off-road expedition vehicles ever built to take on the planet's harshest extremes? Stick with me, because the last one on this list will blow your mind. Nodwell 110. Released in the late 1950s, the Nodwell 110 was born in Canada. Created by engineer Bruce Nodwell, a man who saw the frozen north not as an obstacle, but as a playground for innovation. He realized that no conventional truck could handle the swampy, frozen terrain, so he invented something new. A tracked platform designed to go where nothing else could. The Nodwell 110 runs on a V8 engine with about 391 cubic inches, the equivalent of over 6 liters, producing around 200 horsepower. That may not sound like much today, but the power of this machine wasn't about speed, it was about traction and versatility. The wide tracks spread the weight evenly, allowing it to glide over soft snow without sinking. The suspension was tough, built to handle hard, cold impacts. It had full-time track drive with constant torque on both sides, ensuring it kept moving even in the worst conditions. Visually, it resembles a small bulldozer on tracks, but its impact at the time was massive. The V8 engine's rumble, echoing through the Arctic void, mixed with the clanking of tracks crushing snow, gave it a presence straight out of a 1960s sci-fi film. The Nodwell was used in oil exploration, telegraph line maintenance, hauling equipment, and supporting scientific expeditions. Even today, in remote parts of Alaska and northern Canada, some restored units are still in operation. And get this, some versions were modified with cranes, fuel tanks, or even small sleeper cabins attached. A clever solution for missions that meant days far from civilization. And believe it or not, this is just the beginning. If the Nodwell got your attention, just wait for what's coming next. Afteros Shaman 8x8. Launched in Russia in the 2010s, the Afteros Shaman is the very definition of excess on wheels. It looks like someone threw every off-road concept into a room, locked a door, and let the result roll out with 8 massive tires ready to crush anything in its path. Built by Afteros, a Russian company specializing in extreme terrain vehicles, the Shaman was made to tackle the brutal conditions of Siberia, which makes it more than ready for the Arctic. It's powered by a 3-liter diesel engine with 4 inline cylinders, delivering approximately 146 horsepower. Not a monster on paper, but the secret is in the setup. It features 8x8 drive with 3 steering modes: standard, crab mode, where all wheels turn sideways, and full off-road mode, distributing power evenly across all 8 low-pressure tires. Each wheel has independent suspension, allowing the Shaman to stay level even over rough terrain. The chassis is reinforced, and the interior can be set up either for transporting passengers or as a full expedition unit, with beds, a kitchen, and survival gear. The design looks futuristic, like a mix between a tank and a lunar rover. The engine hums softly, but the tires float over deep snow with a smoothness that's shocking for a machine this size. Beyond the Arctic, the Shaman has been used in expeditions across northern Russia, in flooded regions, and even by eccentric billionaires wanting a luxury cabin with full traction. One even had a custom bulletproof version built just to cross Iceland's Arctic desert. And if you think 8 wheels is already over the top, brace yourself. The next vehicle looks like it came straight out of a space rescue mission. ZIL 4906. This one is pure Soviet nostalgia with a sci-fi twist. The ZIL-4906 was built in the 1970s by the former Soviet Union as part of a military and aerospace project. Its mission? To rescue cosmonauts who landed in remote areas after returning to Earth. Which explains why it looks like a submarine on wheels. Made by ZIL, one of the giants of Soviet engineering, it comes with a 7-liter V8 diesel engine producing around 240 horsepower. And the wild part? It floats. That's right. The ZIL-4906 is amphibious with a sealed body and rear-mounted propellers that allow it to cross frozen rivers or swampy Arctic terrain. It's 4-wheel drive with reinforced suspension made for extreme impacts. It could carry rescue gear, stretchers, and even support a small crane. Its look is totally unique. Wide body, rounded nose, and bright orange paint. Designed to be seen, even in the worst snowstorm. Being in action, it sliced through snow like an icebreaker cuts through frozen seas. The V8's roar, mixed with the drag of oversized tires, created a soundtrack straight out of a spy movie. What few people know is that some of these units were still seen in operation in the 1990s, supporting scientific missions in the Russian Arctic. A true time capsule on wheels. And if you're enjoying this journey through the wildest machines in the snow, drop a like to support the channel. If you love cold climate engineering as much as we do, smash that like button, subscribe, and turn on the bell, because it only gets more extreme from here. Kamaz 6345 Arctic Truck. If there's one name that's synonymous with durability in freezing conditions, it's Kamaz. Famous for dominating the Dakar Rally multiple times, the Russian manufacturer used its expertise in extreme competition to create a truck specifically for the most brutal environments on Earth. That's how the Kamaz 6345 Arctic Truck was born, a modern behemoth built to operate in temperatures as low as -60 degrees Celsius. This monster is powered by a massive 11-liter V8 diesel engine, pushing out 450 horsepower. It was designed not just to survive extreme Arctic temperatures, but to haul heavy loads through terrain where regular trucks would instantly get stuck. It features a custom heavy-duty suspension system with reinforced springs and high-resistance shock absorbers, made to handle the relentless pounding of frozen ground. The 6x6 drive provides grip on icy, uneven terrain, and the ultra-wide tires help spread the weight so it won't sink into soft snow. Visually, the Arctic truck commands respect. Elevated cab, oversized snow deflectors, powerful headlights, and giant wheels. It looks ready to cross the world. The engine's deep, steady growl sounds like raw power cutting through the glacial silence. This machine is mainly used to transport cargo and equipment to Russian Arctic research bases, including fuel, communication antennas, and modular shelters. It's the kind of truck that needs to be reliable enough to travel thousands of kilometers with zero outside help. Here's a cool detail. This was one of the first models to come with a dual heating system, one for the driver's comfort and another solely to keep the dashboard from freezing. That alone tells you how seriously these machines are designed for extremes. Think that's heavy duty? Just wait. The next one looks like it was built to drag entire mountains of snow behind it. Crest AHT 730C. You've probably seen large vehicles, maybe even massive mining trucks, but the Crest AHT 730C is in a league of its own. Originally designed in the United States to haul insanely heavy loads in mining operations, it was later adapted for logistics work in frozen environments, especially in Canada and some Alaskan bases, where its sheer size became a strategic advantage. This giant runs on a V12 engine, nearly 32 liters in displacement, delivering around 1,050 horsepower. Yes, 32 liters. That's enough power to push a freight train, literally. With rear four-wheel drive and hydraulic suspension, the AHT 730C is an articulated vehicle, meaning it bends in the middle to maneuver more easily in tight spaces. It weighs over 100 tons even when empty, but it was built to move smoothly over ice, even when fully loaded with containers, industrial parts, or mobile shelters. Its look is intimidating. Side-mounted cab, tank-like wheels, and an ultra-low center of gravity. The engine sounds somewhere between a jet engine and constant rolling thunder. When it moves, you can feel the ground rumble under its weight. Interestingly, the Crest was never marketed as a snow vehicle, but companies needing ultra-rugged cold-weather transport started using it anyway. One company even used it to build temporary roads across frozen lakes, a job requiring both precision and raw force. And the next vehicle on our list wasn't just made for the cold. It was created by Russians who knew that if you want to survive in the Arctic, sometimes you've got to build your own road. Berlike snow truck. Born in Russia in the late 2010s, the Berlike is a true polar mutant, created by independent engineers and adventurers who wanted to cross the Arctic from end to end. It looks like a cross between a space shuttle, a submarine, and a military APC, all in one vehicle. The engine is a 3-liter diesel with 4 cylinders, producing around 150 horsepower. But again, here, the secret isn't in the numbers, it's in the engineering. It features a 6x6 drivetrain with enormous low-pressure tires that allow it to float over snow, mud, and even water. With fully independent suspension, a reinforced tubular frame, and triple thermal insulation, the Berlike is a self-sufficient mobile polar home. The cabin can be pressurized and includes heating, bunk beds, a kitchen, and even a bathroom, turning this truck into a complete expedition base. Its design is both futuristic and rugged, the kind of machine you'd imagine rolling across Titan, one of Saturn's moons. The engine hums quietly, while the tires make a muffled, crushing sound as they glide over snow, like it's navigating through silence. It was specifically designed for Arctic expeditions in Russia, but has also crossed some of Siberia's most inhospitable regions, and even competed in endurance challenges near the polar circle. Fun fact, the project began through crowdfunding, and came to life thanks to support from explorers who needed something that simply didn't exist yet. And if you think you've seen strange already, the next vehicle is an American relic that looks like a land-based spaceship with house-sized inflatable wheels. Crowley Catco Rolagon. Built in the United States in the 1950s, the Catco Rolagon is probably one of the most exotic vehicles ever produced for cold weather operation. Manufactured by Catco and operated by Crowley, this beast was designed to transport equipment and supplies across the icy tundra of Alaska and northern Canada. But what really grabs your attention? The wheels. Massive, inflatable wheels. It runs on a V8 engine producing about 400 horsepower. But what sets it apart is the set of gigantic rubber tires, each up to 2 meters tall, with such low pressure that the vehicle literally floats over the terrain without sinking. The suspension is rigid, but the tires themselves act as the primary shock absorption system. Depending on the configuration, the Rolagon can be a 6x6 or 8x8. And it glides over soft snow and frozen swamps without losing balance. Visually, it looks like a mix between a lunar tractor and a giant inflatable balloon. The sound is quieter than you'd expect, almost silent compared to other giants. But the visual presence is hypnotic, especially when you see those tires deforming against the ground like some prehistoric creature adapted for Arctic survival. This vehicle was used by oil companies and the US military for remote logistics operations. And here's a fun detail. During initial testing, engineers placed a chicken egg on top of a tire, and the Rolagon drove over it without breaking the egg. A brilliant way to demonstrate just how smooth the ride was. Think it's gotten insane already? Just wait, because the top 3 spots on our list are reserved for true polar legends. Machines so extreme, they seem to have come from a parallel universe. Loving this ride through the world of polar machines? Then don't forget to drop a like and subscribe to the channel, because the last 3 vehicles are straight up out of this world. Carov Chonka. Built in the late 1950s by the former Soviet Union, the Carov Chonka is one of the most iconic machines ever developed for polar exploration. Its name means the girl from Kharkiv, a tribute to the Ukrainian city where it was designed. But don't let the name fool you. This is one of the largest tracked monsters ever to roll across Antarctica. The Carov Chonka was based on the chassis of a Soviet military tank, the ATT, and powered by a V12 diesel engine with 38 liters of displacement, producing over 520 horsepower. Yes, 38 liters. That's almost the engine of a ship packed into a box running on tracks. And it needed all that power because its mission was to travel hundreds of kilometers across solid ice, carrying scientists, equipment, fuel, and food in places where temperatures could drop below -60 degrees Celsius. Its propulsion came from massive steel tracks with reinforced suspension taken directly from World War II-era armored vehicles. Each track crushed snow like paper, leaving behind deep, defined trails. But the most impressive part? The inside. The Carov Chonka was a full-on house on tracks, complete with a kitchen, bathroom, sleeping bunks, heaters, a work area, and even a radio room. It was literally a mobile research station. The engine's growl echoed like metal thunder across the ice, and its visual presence was surreal, almost 4 meters tall, with a bright red body carving through the frozen plains like a land-based icebreaker. In 1959, the Carov Chonka took part in the legendary Soviet Antarctic expedition, where it covered nearly 1,500 kilometers of pure ice, transporting scientists deep into the continent. And believe it or not, some refurbished units remained in operation until the early 2000s. If you thought this was a fortress on tracks, brace yourself, because the next vehicle is one of the biggest failures in American engineering, yet somehow also one of the most legendary machines in polar history. Antarctic Snow Cruiser. At first glance, the Antarctic Snow Cruiser looks like something straight out of a 1930s comic book. And in a way, it is. A bold, futuristic, and wildly ambitious idea that ended up becoming a legend, more for what it didn't do than for what it did. Designed by the United States in 1939, the Antarctic Snow Cruiser was meant to be the mothership of the American Antarctic expedition. The concept was audacious, over 17 meters long, 6 meters wide, weighing more than 34 tons, with a look that blended an airship with a futuristic train. It had dual diesel engines, each producing around 150 horsepower, which powered electric motors in the axles, a cutting-edge system at the time, inspired by electric trains. The drive was 4x4, and the suspension used a pneumatic system to raise or lower the height depending on the terrain. But despite its size and innovation, the Snow Cruiser had a serious flaw. It didn't work well in snow. The slick rubber tires would slip on ice, and traction was constantly lost. Still, its presence was unforgettable. A smooth, rounded giant with an elevated cockpit. And yes, it even carried a small aircraft on its roof. The engine made a soft, constant hum, and its silhouette slicing through the Antarctic white became one of the most famous images in polar engineering. Despite the issues, the Snow Cruiser was used as a temporary shelter and research base before being abandoned. And the most incredible part? For decades, it remained buried beneath the ice, and it's believed to still be there today, frozen in time somewhere in Antarctica, like a ghost ship waiting to be discovered. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we've reached the top. The #1 spot goes to a machine that defies all sense of scale, logic, or common sense. A true polar train, built to conquer the impossible. Overland Train Mark II. If everything before this already seemed insane, the Overland Train Mark II completely redefines the word colossal. Built in the early 1960s by Letourneau in the United States, this wasn't just a truck. It was a train on wheels, designed to carry heavy cargo across places where there were no tracks at all. The full train could reach nearly 170 meters in length, with dozens of wheels, multiple cargo trailers, and an articulated system that allowed it to bend and turn like a giant mechanical centipede. But the beating heart of this behemoth was the lead unit, a steel beast powered by a V16 diesel engine with over 1,200 horsepower, which fed electric motors in each trailer, delivering power to every axle. Its suspension was built to absorb absolutely brutal impacts, and the tires, towering over 2 meters high, made it look more like a sci-fi locomotive than a real-world vehicle. The Overland train was tested in deserts, tundra, and icy fields, and although it was originally meant for military and logistical use, it even operated in areas near the Arctic Circle. The visual is unforgettable. Imagine a futuristic locomotive dragging a string of cargo trailers across deep snow, as if gliding over invisible rails. The sound was that of a mobile power plant, deep, constant, and dominating everything around it. Its cultural impact is enormous. The Overland Train Mark II appeared in engineering magazines, documentaries, and books as one of the largest land vehicles ever built. And though it was never mass-produced, the prototype still exists, preserved in a US museum as a relic from the golden age of mechanical engineering. If there's any machine that symbolizes humanity's battle against the edges of the world, this is it. From trucks with house-sized tires to mobile fortresses that look like space stations, today we've crossed the world's frozen extremes, riding alongside the greatest legends of polar off-road engineering. Machines that weren't built for roads or trails, they were built for places where almost no one dares to go. Because these aren't just machines, they are symbols of human ingenuity. They make it possible to work, explore, and survive where nature insists, not here. And yet, they go. Now tell me in the comments, which of these machines blew your mind? Which one would you love to drive? Or didn't even know existed? I'm curious to know which of these frozen legends impressed you the most. And of course, if you love this kind of content, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, because every week there's a new video with the most amazing machines that dominate ice, snow, and the most extreme terrain on Earth. See you in the next video!